Hello, 6th graders. Welcome to Big Ideas Math, Contract Math, Section 3.5, 2012 edition, Solving Proportions lesson. Pause while you write Section 3.5, 2012 lesson in your math notebook. Pause again while you write today's lesson objective in your math notebook. Today's objective is to solve proportions using different strategies. Today we'll be starting on page 124 in your textbook. At the top of the page is the key idea, which reminds us where we've learned our different methods for solving proportions. Method 1, using mental math, we learned in section 3.4. Using the multiplication property of equality, we'll be learning in section 3.5. And use the cross products property we learned in our activity of lesson 3.5. So that's where you can go back and look at your notes to see where we covered different methods for solving proportions. So example 1, we're solving proportions using multiplication. So it says to solve 5/7 equals x over 21. Write the proportion. So this is just like solving any other equation. So we see that our x is with a 21, so it's divided by 21, so we need to multiply each side by 21 to get that x by itself. So when we do that, the 21s cancel each other out on the right, and then we have 5/7 times 21 on the left, and we know that 7 goes into itself once, and 21 3 times. So 5 times 3 is 15, so x equals 15. So the solution is 15. Example 2, we're solving proportions using the cross products property. It says solve each proportion. So we'll start with letter A, and so we cross multiply. So x times 10 and 8 times 7, we set those equal to each other. So that gives us 10x equals 56, and so we have to then divide both sides by 10, leaving x by itself equal to 5.6. So the solution is 5.6. And letter B, again, we cross multiply. 9 times 17 equals y times 3. So 9 times 17 equals 153, and that's equal to 3y. And then we have to divide both sides by 3 to make the y be by itself. 153 divided by 3 equals 51. So our final answer is y equals 51, so the solution is 51. Example 3 is our real-life application. The toll due on a turnpike is proportional to the number of miles driven. How much does it cost to drive 150 miles? So method 1, we're going to interpret the slope as a unit rate. So this is kind of like the babysitting problems we did in previous lessons. So the slope equals the change in y over the change in x. So we need to look at our graph. We have x1 as 100. I'm going to try and label that on the graph here. What I call x1, and x x2 is 200, and y1 is 7.5, and y2 is 15. So they've graphed that out nicely for us. So when we substitute that, we have the change in y, so they have actually 15 minus 7.5 over the change in x, which is 200, sorry about that, 200 minus 100, and that is where they got their 7.5 minus 100. I know it looks like they just took the y and put it over the x, but they didn't. And then when you divide that, it turns out to be 75 thousandths. The unit rate is 75 thousandths dollars per mile. So that's how much you're paying per mile. And you multiply that to find the total cost. So if you drove 150 miles, you would multiply that times 0.075 to get your total cost, and that would be $11.25. So it costs $11.25 to drive 150 miles on the turnpike. Method 2, you write and solve a proportion. So again, we're using the graph. So it's 7.5 over 100. So we use our slope up here again that we got from the graph, and we set that equal to what we don't know. So we don't know how many dollars it's going to cost us to drive 150 miles. So that's the part we don't know on the right. So we multiply each side by 150 to make our y be by itself, and when we do that, we simplify, and it's $11.25 equals y. So it costs $11.25 to drive 150 miles on the turnpike. Your assignment for this lesson is to complete the On Your Own problems below, which are also found on pages 124 and 125 of your textbook. Show your work and be prepared to share during our next class. Remember, to earn credit for viewing this flipped lesson, you need to complete your exit slip, come to our next class prepared with the journal pages or other work from the flipped lesson completed, be prepared with any work that was assigned in the flipped lesson completed, and be prepared with any questions you have for your teacher, and of course, have a good attitude.